Hello, my friends. It's that time again. Something else that triggered the older man. And it's another learning lesson for men. Gentlemen, lesson today. You got to learn how to read the room. You'll understand what I'm talking about shortly. But remember that. You got to know how to read the room. Forget your emotions. Read the room. We're living in a different time. Let me explain what I'm talking about.
The president of the Spanish Football Federation has been slammed for this. Luis Rubiales kissed World Cup winner Jenny Hermoso on the lips during the medal ceremony. She said afterwards she did not enjoy that, but Rubiales rejected suggestions it was inappropriate.
And that, my friends, is what the hot story is today. I've been watching the news and I've been watching Spanish news so that you guys can understand. The older man does understand a bit of Spanish. Spanish is my second language. Now, I've been rusty because I've been living in the UAE now for 15 years. But while I was in the West, Spanish was my second tongue. So I do understand a bit of Spanish. But I also spent a bit of time in Spain, and I love the Spanish culture. And I've always understood that Spaniards, and I mean from Spain, European Spaniards, just like the Spaniards in the Caribbean, Latin American Spaniards, they're passionate people. We've always been very passionate. We're very affectionate and very passionate. However, there has always been that feeling of machismo, the man. It's always been a major part of the culture. Now that's identified as misogynist. Feminism has infiltrated. Any man who's machismo, who has male traits, strong male traits, men who understand that they're in charge, men who understand that, hey, my role is to take care of you, the woman. Feminism has also infiltrated these parts of the Hispanic culture, the Latin culture, especially in Europe. And so when I say, gentlemen, you got to understand how to read the room. This man should have known that even though, and this is my counter argument, and I want you ladies to understand this one simple point. I am not agreeing with what this man did. I am arguing 2 points. One, I understand the circumstances of which he's done it. And number two, I don't think that he should be the sacrificial lamb for the hardcore feminists that are out on the street looking for his blood. Okay? Understand this again. I'm going to say it again because I know you all are going to get triggered. I do not agree with what he did. I understand why he did it. You've got to understand the difference. Number two, he should not be a sacrificial lamb. In other words, they are going for this man's blood. They are looking to have him criminally prosecuted.
Many in the soccer world coming together to support Hermoso. Players from Spanish men's club Cadiz displaying a banner saying in Spanish, "We are all with Jenny."
They're looking for his job, taking away his livelihood, taking away everything this man has worked hard. He's the one that took Spanish football to where it is right now. They're ignoring all of that shit just because he was 2 inches short of being safe. What do I mean by that? One thing Spaniards are really notorious for in most Latin American countries is the 2 kisses on each side of the cheek. 2 inches on each side is the lips. He was 2 inches short or off of his mark from being appropriate. And for that, he's going to punish with his job. His whole life is now being disrupted. And potentially, he might go to jail. 2 inches away. All right? 2 inches away. Just because, my friends, the feminists need to make a point. They need to make sure that they become a gynocentric society, just like the rest of the West. And that's my argument. Repeat. I will repeat it. Do not agree with what he did, but I can see that he did not mean this in a sexual fashion. I'll show you how triggered women were, right, with this. And it was only triggering when women were shown the visuals of this over and over and over again, where they even darkened the photo, freezed him grabbing her head, making sure that it's very pronounced what this man did, right? I've seen videos where they've slowed it down and made it look like he literally was mouth raping this woman, even though they were all celebrating. It was just a moment of absolute elation. They just won the World Cup. Everybody was happy, and he just grabbed her and kissed her, right? That was it. Oh, my wife got even upset when I said, what's the big deal? She said, whoa, she kissed her in the mouth, then he slapped her in her ass. I said, he slapped her in her ass? I didn't see that. And right then, the video came up with him doing the act. The man hit her in her back. I'll repeat her, tapped her in her back like every other football player would do. Everybody's hugging, they're elated that they had just won. And what is it that's being, and now what is it that's souring this event? The man was 2 inches off. That's it. So right now, beyond all of that celebration, beyond all of that elation that they had won, the one thing the news and the feminists are pushing is to crucify the man that brought them to this point. They want him crucified. That's how cruel the system is. I'm not saying that the man should not be reprimanded. Hey, dude, that's not allowed. Come out and you apologize, which he ultimately did. Of course, he tried to defend his action because he had no sexual intention. If I had no sexual intention when I did an act that looked sexual, right? Because we can even go one step further. Hugging a woman that did not give consent.
And what does consent mean? And the answer to that is, well, we never used to have to think these things through because the rule was don't have sex until you get married. That was the rule. Now that isn't the rule. Okay, so what's the rule? Well, we're not having a conversation about the rule. We're waiting till someone does something that seems like it might be untoward and then mobbing them and trying to extract the rule out that way. And it's not a very effective way of doing it. The backlash against that. It's like, well, I feel used. You know, because one of the things that's happening on the really radical end of the anti-sexual abuse movement is the idea that, well, if you have intercourse with someone and then you regret it the next day, that's evidence that it wasn't consensual. Well,
it's actually a sexual act. Everybody's hugging each other. Everybody is cheek to cheek. But he went one step too far, 2 inches off mark. That's it. Costing him his life, costing him everything, his reputation.
He has denied that action even happened.
Para que pidan mi dimisión.
Is that so serious that I have to leave while having done the best job for Spanish football?
Yesterday, Mr. Rubiales had been expected to stand down, but instead came defiance.
I will not resign.
No, voy a dimitir.
I will not resign.
He said 5 times, I will not resign. But in the hours that followed, key names in Spanish football spoke out. 81 female players now say they won't play for their country until he's gone.
Everybody's hugging, everybody is embracing, everybody's cheering, everybody is just happy. But just because after the fact, one woman said, I didn't like that, this man loses everything. The country is in an uproar. I mean, they want blood from the person who gave them the win, from the man who actually helped to bring the win to them. You can't beat that shit. You tell me how can we as a society reach this point where a man literally can't do anything right? You know, I did this video on feminism and how it's killing societies. And I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to link that video at the end of this video so that you guys can watch it, where I show you very clearly that feminism is destroying humanity. Feminism is responsible for the low birth rates in this world. Feminism has turned women into men. If the gender that is responsible for upholding our society is literally turned into the opposite sex, we have a problem. But more importantly, we are now getting to a point in our society where we're not even allowed to touch each other without consent.
It shows the head coach's wife kissing players on the University of Florida football team. It's a game day tradition.
Every time we get off the bus, she always ready to give us a hug, kiss on the cheek.
Megan Mullen looks the young men square in the eyes, offers a few words of encouragement, and then kisses them on the cheek. She also leaves little notes by their lockers. Love you, Mama M. Some are calling it gross and disrespectful.
I think a high five is cool. I'm going to say no bueno on the hugs and kisses.
Sports blogger Karen Phillips accuses the coach's wife of sexually harassing the football team.
If this was a man doing it, this would be on CNN. This would be on MSNBC.
But the mother of one of the players is coming to the coach's wife's defense today, tweeting, Mama Mullen, I am very happy you are there showing/giving my big boy the love that you're giving and showing because I can't do it. I don't make it to all the games.
I would hate to be single in this generation. I swear. Because young men are confused as hell. Are we going to come up to you at a nightclub and say, hey, can I kiss you? After we've had a dance and we're looking into each other's eyes and I'm reading all the body language, I'm reading it, I can see that you want to do it. I have to say to you, hey, can I kiss you? Please tell me, how romantic is that? Please tell me the romantic movie that has that in it, where I have to pull out a form on my phone and say, hey, this is a consent form for us to have sex. And I need that you are of sound mind. You're not drunk. Are you drunk? Well, then you can't sign this. Sorry, we can't have sex. We can't touch each other. It's going to get to that point. You think it sounds weird, but let me give you an example. Which are the two societies right now that are dying, that literally have no way back? Which are the two societies that have not produced enough babies to repopulate itself? That literally there are more people dying than there are people being born. Which two? And I will tell you the common link between these two and why they're dying. Japan and South Korea. Now, how is it customary that people greet themselves in these two cultures? Do they shake hands? Do they hug? No. They bow to each other. They don't touch each other.
So you can just tilt your head down like this. 안녕하세요.
I'm not saying that that's the reason.
Both. The latest fertility data is ringing alarm bells in Seoul. The population is shrinking and all the money and policy solutions are not changing the tide. Women in South Korea remain on strike. They say they're protesting because the society views them as baby-making machines. It's become a movement of sorts. A movement called the 4 No's. What are the 4 No's? No to dating, no to sex, no to marriage, and no to childbearing. That's what the women of South Korea say. Look at the survey from 2022. It shows 65% of Korean women do not want children. The question is why, and the reasons are many, starting with money. The cost of raising children is high. In fact, South Korea is said to be the most expensive country to raise a child. Plus, housing is unaffordable. There are long working hours and bleak job prospects. So finances play a big role, but there's also a major cultural factor. And society's impossible expectations from a mother. She's expected to do it all. And this, by the way, is not limited to South Korea. Across the world, so many women have had enough and they're opting out. Not from their jobs, but from motherhood. They say it's a personal choice, and it is. But it also has widespread public ramifications. South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate. In 2022, it broke its own record. What's a country's fertility rate? The average number of children a woman will have in her lifetime. For South Korea, it was 0.8 in 2021. The year before, it was 0.84. What does this mean? It means one woman would not even have one child on an average. How does that compare with other countries? Look at Japan. In 2021, its fertility rate was 1.3, and Japan too has a shrinking population. In the US, it was 1.6. Do you know what's the highest? 7. One woman would have 7 children on an average. That's in Niger. What's the ideal rate? 2.1. To maintain a stable population, a country needs a fertility rate of 2.1. Any figure above that indicates population growth. South Korea's birth rate has been dropping since 2015. In 2020, it recorded more deaths than births for the first time. This is called a population death cross, and the fallout can be serious. Schools are facing a shortage of students. The military is relaxing rules for enrollment. The workforce is shrinking, and the pension of retirees is at risk. Experts say South Korea needs urgent course correction, else it would face a major labor shortage within a decade. So what is Seoul doing? They're spawning robots.
But it's a weird coincidence when you don't have the two sexes actually touching each other, contacting each other, that there's a low birth rate. There has to be some correlation. There might be correlation, but no causation. Yeah, these two things are true in both cultures, but that might not be the cause. Can it be part of the cause? Yes, it can. And it seems like in the Western society, that's where we're going.
The president of the Spanish Football Federation has been slammed for this. Luis Rubiales kissed World Cup winner Jenny Hermoso on the lips during the medal ceremony. She said afterwards she did not enjoy that, but Rubiales rejected suggestions it was inappropriate.
Comments. It's the way he holds her head that really does it. Doesn't give her the option of moving to the side of his kiss. Lorraine Johnson said, he forced her. You're right. No way she could have escaped that.
Few words of encouragement and then kisses them on the cheek. She also are calling it gross and disrespectful.
I think a high five is cool.
But Ana Santos said she put her arms around him. Are you joking? The woman, somebody else responded, after all the hoopla, I'm surprised to see how innocent this was. I was expecting a deep tongue mauling. This was half a second peck. That's all it takes, my friends. That's all it takes. You don't, over here, I don't even touch women, man. I ask for consent even to shake hands, especially if the woman is Muslim. If I have to adjust, because I don't know if you guys know, I'm a professional photographer. But if I have to adjust the hair or move something on a woman's body, right? I make sure I ask permission. Can I touch that? Can I move your hair? Most of the Western women like, of course, yeah. The Arabic woman, yeah, they give me permission. But I'm telling you, I ain't freaking taking any chances. But that's why I've survived in this business over 15 years here. Thyra 350 said, so why is she smiling and not doing anything? Because it's a celebration. Everybody was celebrating. If I was to give her any credit, it would be like, okay, when she settled down, she would think, oh, that was weird. That was a bit forward. I'm going to tell the media I didn't like it. So my wife says, oh, so what you're saying is that, okay, if somebody did that to me, your wife, you wouldn't have a problem with it? And I said, no, I wouldn't. Under those circumstances, no, I wouldn't. If everybody's celebrating like that, no, I wouldn't. And if you were responsible for actually producing the results, no, I wouldn't friggin' lose my shit over that. Of course, I'd feel a little way like, hey, dude, man, that's my wife. Hey, hold up. But that's about as far as I would friggin' look at it. But if you did that and then followed through with that slap on your ass or anything like that, then that's when I would step out and say, hey, I would then I would have something to say about it, yes.
Do a job. You got a lot of fans. I'm curious, how do the homeboys respond to you? Because, I don't necessarily see a lot of
folk. Yeah. Man, the black folk love me, and I love black folk because I'm black. But, I love everybody, but black folks love me, man. Black girls love me, too, man. I get hit on by black girls all the time. I be like, oh, I be showing my nipple. I be doing my nipple dance. Black girls love me, man. I love them black girls back, too, man. I be loving me some black women. Are you black?
Part, yeah.
I love all parts of you. Even the black part? What other part are you?
I'm Jamaican, black and white.
She's Jamaican me horny.
Paige, I know you got to get to your party.
She's hot, ain't she? That's why I gave her the interview. She's hot.
Thank you, Rampage.
I want a motorboat right now. All on camera, like, all on the camera. You know I be humping reporters, so you might not.
Seen it.
You might want to get away. I've been in a long training camp. Get away from me. Get away. I'll hump you in front of everybody. Get away.
But I could see that it was quite innocent where we were celebrating. Shit, I've seen worse kisses on my woman in freaking New Year's celebration, bringing in New Year's. Everybody's freaking kissing up each other. It's just the reality of life, man. But should a man lose his job over that? No, hell no. But the feminists, no. They have it out for him. Let's watch some of these news clips. Let's watch this one here from by women. Nobody's shaking hands and that's it. Everybody's hugging, and not just like a little pat on the back hug. They're in it deep. Titty on chest, cheek to cheek, everybody is freaking deep in. Because that's the culture. You wouldn't see that here in the UAE.
I think it's something that we should ask permission, make sure someone's comfortable. Don't just lunge in.
Absolutely. If you're a stranger and I don't know you...
Oh, do I have permission to kiss you on the lips? Do I? Oh, please. The stupidity of this type of dialogue. Now, that's sexual assault. For sure. An unwarranted, unabashed, for no reason at all, somebody just grab you and kiss you. I don't care whether you're male or female. That's just, no, that's wrong. You know? Yeah, we will sleep with somebody immediately. But kissing them? Oh, God, no, no, no. So, that was the women. Let's watch a male channel discuss it now.
Well, this has caused a stir all around the world with people debating the appropriateness or not of that kiss. Personally, I'm a bit surprised it's gotten to where it's gotten to. Yes, it was inappropriate, and in this day and age, you can't do that kind of thing. However, they've just reached the pinnacle of world sport. They've worked their entire lives for this moment, and you could understand how in the moment, emotions got the better of him, and it was a spontaneous gesture that nothing bad was meant by. He's apologised. Why ruin the man's career and attempt to drive him out of his job? Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it quite qualifies as sexual violence. And you're right, it's inappropriate. He probably shouldn't have done it. But I think if you look at the intent of what he did there, clearly there was no sexual, nature to it. It was literally like the way he grabbed her and did it was not, I'm trying to touch you up. It was, I'm just so jubilant at what has happened here. He ought to be wrapped over the knuckles for it, but I don't think it's enough to lose his job over, as the Prime Minister of Spain has suggested today. I mean, I understand in terms of sexual harassment, certainly sexual assault, we need to take a hard line, but I'm not sure this quite qualifies as sexual harassment.
Okay, well, what's a hard line then? We talk all the time about it. Zero tolerance policy, zero tolerance. Every employer in Australia and worldwide is, no, we have a zero tolerance policy around any kind of... This was unwanted contact, and it was a kiss on the mouth. You can see by her arms there, this was not expected or welcomed or wanted, and they can put out as many statements as they like. Notice those comments from her were given via the Federation. I know damage control when I see it. You're quite right in saying they have just won the World Cup, and now this is all anyone's talking about. Why? Because it is 2023. Everyone's had enough of this kind of behaviour. I don't care how elated he was. Where do we draw the line then? So every boss now, when he gets a new contract or lands a big tender, it is like, oh, $5 million, just grab the closest minion and plant one on her. She said live, when asked by a fellow player about it, she said, I didn't like it.
To be fair, she was laughing when she said that.
Of course, they just won the World Cup. It was within hours of winning the World Cup.
Isn't that
She's
the
not
point
going to
of
be
the kiss?
crying
They
in a
just
corner.
won the World Cup. Is there any room for? Is there any room?
She didn't kiss him. He is in a position of power. He is the president of the federation.
Sure.
Okay? So him say, oh, I was just caught up in the moment. It was all fine. He even tried to pass it off on radio as a mutual, oh, this was just two people showing each other affection. We can all see the footage,
Can I ask
mate.
you a question?
It was not mutual.
This happened in a split second, okay? So when they say...
Yeah, a lot of mistakes happen in a split second, Mac. It doesn't justify them in any way.
Let me finish.
Please.
This happened in a split second, okay? It wasn't so much a kiss as a peck on the lips. It was so fast. Is there any... Here's my question. Is there any grace at all to say, you know what, he didn't mean anything untoward. He got caught up in the moment. All right, apologise, but you don't have to lose your job over it.
Well, firstly,
we can clearly see you meant nothing malevolent by it. Is there any opportunity for that at all?
You're both very bold to speak to his intentions. You have absolutely no idea what kind of guy he is, what kind of relationship he has with the players.
I don't know that he's an evil person either. I'm assuming...
I'm not claiming that. I'm simply saying this was objectively inappropriate.
Which he has admitted and apologised for.
So what do you think? No. Once he was browbeaten into it, he wasn't sorry at all. He was extremely
because I think
defiant.
his reaction of defiance in the first instance, you can kind of understand if he thought, you know what, this was spontaneous, I didn't mean anything by it, so his initial reaction is defensive.
That is never a justification for touching a woman.
But it's human nature, Liz.
Oh, it's human nature for a man to kiss a woman.
No, that's not what I
yes,
said. Not
it
what I said.
is.
You just took me totally out of context. I said it's human nature to defend behaviour in the first instance. Your natural instinct is to defend behaviour that you honestly meant nothing untoward by. Then he thinks, you know what, it has been misinterpreted or interpreted in another way. Now I will apologise. I don't think that's duplicitous. I think that's kind of understandable.
It is damage control, pure and simple. What he said in the first interview was completely defiant. I've done nothing wrong here. These people are idiots. That's his true thoughts on the matter. And the standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept. So the fact that you guys want to argue, oh, it was just in the moment, cut him a break, please.
What can he do? Anything that he says outside of this incident, just short of slitting his wrists, they're going to say it's damage control. If the man said, listen, I am so sorry, he breaks down. Oh, the tears are just false. It's not real. If he stands strong and says, listen, I'm sorry, this happened, I did not mean it in a sexual fashion. Oh, he doesn't look sincere. Anything this man does, anything he says, will not be enough for any of these groups. They want blood. Forget the fact that they just won the World Cup and this was the man that helped them get there. They want freaking blood. That is the nastiest part of what's going on right now. You guys tell me, am I wrong? Should this man go to jail because of a half a second peck on the cheek? Should this man go to jail because he did 2 inches to the right or left?
Bosses have been dismissed. I'm reminded of John Lasseter. Back in 2017, he was dismissed as one of the founders of Pixar for excessive hugging. You don't get to get around your office or use any kind of minions as hugging people, kissing people, if it's a woman. And these women, I might add, sporting women, they put up with more objectification, more harassment. Here she was at the peak of her career, the biggest accomplishment she'll probably ever.
He was also at the peak of his career as the president of the Football Federation.
Didn't kick a ball in the game.
Oh, Liz,
you don't get to line the players up and snog them. Nah, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I don't think there's one woman watching who's on your side, by the way, because we're going to have to run a live poll on this.
Remember the worm they used to have in the prime ministerial debates? Bring it back, a new feature of the late debate.
Wow. Guys, listen, I'll reiterate. It wasn't appropriate. He was out of pocket. He should have read the room. He should have understood the time period that we're in right now. No, he shouldn't have done it. However, it does not warrant him losing everything. It does not warrant this whole event overshadowing their victory. This should simply been pushed aside and dealt with quite rationally. But that is not what feminists want. They want blood. That's the part that I have a problem with. And I fear that what is happening now in the West is that this whole push for where men now have to justify every glance, every touch, every feel, every single interaction with a woman, there has to be ultimate consent. Otherwise, he ends up losing his profession, he ends up in jail, he ends up losing his reputation, his marriage, etc. We are going to get to the point where men are going to pull so far away that they're going to end up leaving a lot of these women on the wayside. It's going to get to a point where my daughter don't even have a freaking date for the prom. Because men are saying, nah, it's not worth it. Less men are going to college because, no, it's not worth it. Less babies are being born. It's already started happening because women want to become just like men, out of their natural role. It is not healthy for society. No society. And we see it in real time because it's almost like boiling a frog slowly. The frog doesn't know that he's being boiled until the water gets to a point where it incapacitates him from jumping out of the hot water. We are at that point. But the beautiful thing is, we see other societies that have already boiled their frog. We see Japan and we see South Korea. The frog has already been boiled. And we see the same thing being repeated in other Western societies. Listen, guys, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. You know my point of view. I want to know yours. Okay, so subscribe if you haven't already. Let's have a discussion, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, cheers.